Good afternoon. This is Ken of Tortoise Capital. So I'm going to do a quick look at Lawrence case study here on Caterpillar on the 1 minute charts. And I've marked off 18 areas that I want to comment on, and he's marked up his commentary. He's wondering what I'm going to say about those. So in region 1, I'm looking at his entry around the owl. I notice that there is a big gap up. I'm not as quick to enter an owl on the long side on a gap up. I would rather see that thing gap down, sell off, and then make the turn. So conversely, I don't mind taking the owl actually like right here, which I think is a better entry. So he's going to get one here. So on that gap, I would be looking more at a playing of the fade. I'd actually be looking to get short right about here, anticipating the collapsing dragon that he gets around number 2. So I'm just concerned about the gap in this kind of pandemic laced market, especially when this thing, I don't want to enter 3 minutes into it. There's no directionality based on the getting all the market orders at the open. I'd rather wait about 15 minutes out in this area. Area number 2, I like the collapsing dragon play. I don't mind that at all. I think the exit on the owl could have come at the RLXD. I don't mind you waiting for the belly of the dragon. I like the immediate short. I think the stop could go a little quicker. I'm noticing a double bottom in the dragon now and a PSAR flip. That's why to me this I would rather see this happening about a bar earlier when that thing first crosses the dragon, and maybe you get a slightly better entry. But then my entry right here, or this entry here with a stop at the belly of the dragon, is really good from 105. That's going to give you a 5% move ultimately. Number 5, I think this is where the second position I'd be looking at when it clears the hump of this dragon, because you had a sell-off. So now you notice the peak of the RL10. So right at number 5 is where I'd be looking at getting this second position here rather than here. I want to get this second position in. On my best day, I'm entering here in that little elbow at 4, and then a second position at 5. At 6, I'm just actually starting to feel really good, because now it's crossed the 200 period moving average and the RL270, and it has cleared all of this junk, and it's halfway up the stack to here. So by this time, I want to have 2, possibly a third one in hand, rather than waiting for this emerging dragon. I don't mind this as a position, treating that as this emerging dragon. That's not a bad play. I like that it held support here. I don't mind the exit here. This is a really good exit, especially if we got entries at here and here. So I like the pocket at 5. At 6, it's crossing the 200 and the RL270. That's what I'm looking at there. At 7, I'm noticing the previous peak of the RL10 collapsing right where it collapsed last time. So I think I want to be out in this big red candle, or at least in this on a 2-bar low. I think I want to be out here at 108.6 rather than here at 108. So that's 0.5% of improvement. So that's what I'm seeing at 7. There's a PSAR flip in there as well. At 8, I notice the next PSAR flip. I see a 1, 2, 3 entry. That's perfect. I don't mind the second position on the RLXD. That's what I'm seeing at 9. That's a really good second position. In this one, I think, especially given the recent chop, so you've already seen one leg, 2 legs, This is now the third leg, and if I've got two positions in already at the same price level where it collapsed yesterday, I think I'm exiting at the skin of the dragon here rather than down in here. And then this one at least is a scratch on that entry as opposed to turning it into a loss. So if I get long here and here, but I get out here, that whole move is now a scratch. But if I'm long here and then here, and I can get out at 10, then I've got a win. Here I'm noticing the RL10 holds the Bollinger Band mean, and at 11 I get the next RLXD. This is where I would be getting long again. If I'm gonna get long here, I'd rather get long here before the range expansion. That range expansion is the one that you want to be using to lock in your stop. So if I can get long here, when it makes this run, I'm moving my stop up to right about here, and now I'm good to go. So 12, I'm noticing a 1, 2, 3 exit. That's pretty good. At higher high in the dragon. Now everything rolls over. This whole thing is getting ready to be about an owl entry short right here. I don't mind the scratch. And I'm noticing the PSAR flip at 13. At 14, I notice this move here. This is where it comes out of the Red River. So this was from the winter into the spring. It drifted into the winter, but then immediately reversed to spring and summer. So now that makes this a really good entry early. When this blue line crosses back over the black, I think you can be entering here, maybe a bar earlier. And then you have a confirmation into the summer. This one was where it could have failed. It didn't. It took off again for the next big leg up. This is where we should be making our money today after this. Winter, spring, summer, fall, summer. That's really that second long leg of summer is really the one where we're making the money. Long, slow fall. Here was an attempt to recover, but then it collapsed pretty quick. Comes back and holds at the 0 line. This is another run up. So starting right here when it goes from fall back into summer, that's why I like this entry here rather than up in here. So even 2 bars can make a difference of refinement if you know what you're looking for. And then this one, I really like this exit. That coincides with a really weak summer right into the fall again. Over at 18, I just noticed this previous Z3 excursion and the height of the dragon and the RL10. That makes this a really solid, all day this is going to be a very solid resistance area, which means that this double bottom sell-off, that's why you got to be looking for this. So after a peak and then a harsh sell, and then I like to wait 20 to 30 minutes. You see a double bottom in here, and it did not make a new low in the dragon. That's where you got to buy this one, and then a second one here when it clears the hump of these 2 RL10s. At 19, I noticed the previous Z3 excursion to the downside, right? So when this thing was up in here, everybody was happy with Caterpillar. The Z3 excursion down here is at 19, and then when that collapsed, notice how price collapsed and then a big second and third collapse. So this is going to be an emotionally important and emotionally charged level. And when it finally does break through here, it had 2 runs at it. It couldn't even get there. 1, 2, couldn't even get the third one. It did, and as soon as it did, it blasted through immediately up to the next previous support level. So we can infer that from what we're reading into 18 and 19. So those are the points that I want to make all along the curve. Okay, so thanks for Laurent for offering that to us, and he'll study his written notes on numbers 1 through 19 and compare that to the commentary I just made, and see what we can see by making those comparisons. So thanks for your kind attention.